Give me a second. 1 second. It's gonna be a good teaching. I gotta make one stop. Hold on. It's gonna be a good teaching. Give me a second. Give me a second. Be right back. Yeah, I ordered. I ordered. Peace, 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 everybody. Give me a second. Come on here and give y'all a good lecture today. If you want to support the teachers, you can. If not, it's all good. It's all good. Cash App $KGB or PayPal.me/IBNAELBEY7. If you don't want to give a charitable contribution, it's all good. But as you come and come and come, I hope you place it on your heart. If not, it's still all good. Good. So I'm gonna give it a second, and I'm gonna wait. Like I said, it don't matter if $5, 500 don't matter. Five is just as good. If you like the teachings, like I said, it's just a love token. And I said, those that don't have it, don't worry about it. Those that do have, do what you should do. But if you don't have it, don't worry about it. Come to learn and ask Allah, ask God when He give you a little extra. If it's important of you to give a little bit of that to the teachings. If it's not important, I understand that too. Like I said, it's all good. Share this with your friends. Have them come on. Let them know to understand of what we're doing. And if it wasn't important, no one would be here. So I'm going to give it a second, man. About 1 more minute, we're going to get right into the teachings. If my nobles haven't went through the science already, which all my nobles should have went through the science already because you have all my books. And I'm going to highlight just 2 of my books that I gathered, compiled, and divinely prepared. My first book I'm going to illuminate is the interpretation of the divine creed of Moorish Islam. I gathered and compiled this book like probably how long ago? A long time ago. Then my other books, Sufism and the Triple Road of the Adapt Chamber. These are just 2 books that I gathered and compiled. I have, actually to be honest, I have 100 books in the makings. This my empress said it was about 6 years ago. So I got 20 books already out. I got 80 more that I'm going to put out, but I can put out books all the time. I even put out sermon books for my ministers that were going into the true gospel. I've written books for sermons for ministers to give messages. I've written eulogies. And a lot of my documents has been purchased by a lot of people, not just Moors. So if anybody interested in this, share it with your friends. Because this the reason why Moors are confused with Moorish science. And if I have time, I'll jump into a little introduction of the holy nation state. How Noble Drew Ali set up the temple. This valuable information, so you won't be lost. Because no one should be able to tell somebody how the temple is set up if they're not part of it. Here you go, Icy. People talk about all the temples infiltrated. Everything is infiltrated. Hell, you ain't got to be in no temple to be no rat, or to be no COINTEL, or to be no sucker. You ain't got to be a part of no temple to be that. You just a sucker regardless. So don't blame that sucker stuff on a temple. It was suckers before they came to the temple. So if a sucker joined the temple and they a rat, what you think they gonna do? And that's all levels. So let's jump into my first book. It's the interpretation of the divine creed of Moorish Islam. I might not give it all. I'll just give a little intro and share some pictures. This is a picture out of one of the books that a European, Albion, wrote. His name is Peter Lambert Wilson. When he got into the science, he changed his name to Hakim Bey. He wrote all the Moorish paradigm journals. So I'm going to give a little intro of what they say of our prophet. And I quote, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, 1925, 4 years before his death, posing formally as prophet, Sharif, and Mason. From who was Noble Drew Ali? Question mark. By Isa al-Mahdi. I hope y'all know what that means. The image, crumbling, 1920s photograph, 1920s. 1920. So when people be lying, when they walk with the prophet, they lying. This was before their time. They were babies. All you gotta do is when the person say, "Oh, I'll walk with the prophet," you be like, "Dude, prophet was in the 1920s. Dude, you lying." Just like when I was in ministry and a man got up there and got the giving a message from his dad. Everybody looking like, "Dude, this was before your time. You didn't even read what you was doing. You ain't even change it." You talk about, yep, in the 1970s, like, dude, you were only 2. You ain't went nowhere as no baby, boy. You see? To recover the meaning of this obscure and enigmatic portrait, we must rediscover. Here you go, sis. We must rediscover. We must rediscover. Rediscover means resurrect a lost or secret portion of our own history. He didn't say no Moorish history. He said of our. The European said our. So when you see that Celtic history and you see the book, with no disrespect, the European and Albion or someone with a lighter you, that's Moorish history if you open the book. They'll tell you. But we just want to argue. But listen to this. The image, crumbling 1920 photograph of an American black man dressed in robe, sash, and fez, posing formally, hand on breast, like Napoleon, labeled Prophet Noble Drew Ali, 1886 to 1929. 1886 to 1929. So when these modern brothers we talk about, yeah, they walk with the prophet. Okay, prophet was born in 1886, passed in 1929. To discover the meaning of this obscure and enigmatic portrait, we must rediscover a lost or secret portrait of our own history. For American history is defined for us as much by its absence and disappearance as by its official presence. I got it. Indeed, perhaps even more so. The official sources, The official sources describe Noble Drew Ali as founder of the first black Islamic sect in America. Just like when I showed y'all Islam for Dummies, and I told y'all page 2 of the ISIS 245, all about Noble Drew Ali. Go get it. Just like Computer for Dummies, go right in Barnes and Nobles to get it. And my members, go to Barnes and Nobles and then be like, oh, I'm part of the Burning Bush Tabernacle organization that's taxing for the federal government in a nice way, and watch you don't pay no taxes with your member ID. Watch. All facts. Here you go, sis. Y'all hear that? In truth, he was less than this. Now listen what he's saying. This is no hate. In truth, he was less than this. For there were black Muslims. Didn't say Muslims. It said, for there were black Muslims here before him. Abdul Hamid Solomon. Deuce Muhammad. Look this stuff up. This ain't no slander. You don't think our prophet was inspired by people before him? Just like I was, to go seek the wisdom and the understanding and the education and the initiation. In truth, he was less than this. For there were Moorish, they say black, but Moorish Muslims here before him. But here go the emphasis on it. But he was also more than this. He was an American prophet. Ooh-wee. Come on, this is the European. He was an American prophet. Listen to what he say then. He could have stepped from the pages of Melville or Ishmael Reed. A thought of Allah, clothed in the flesh, a fact, a poetic fact. And I got in parentheses, Peter Lambert Wilson, Sacred Drift, Essays on the Margins of Islam, page 15. In academia, that's giving credit to the author. In academia, when this ain't my original words, why it comes from a person. I'm quoting something and I'm giving a reference to the original thought. Come on, man. Academia. This ain't no slander. Noble Drew Ali combined elements from a number of different sources. The Pan-African Marcus Garvey, Christian Islam, Theosophy, Freemasonry, Islamic elements included our prophet, Noble Drew Ali's claim to be the last prophet of Allah in that time. And that's true. And his history and his Holy Quran, the Circle 7 Quran, composed in 1927. Our prophet's 64-page Holy Quran bore little resemblance to the Islamic Quran. That's why when I be telling people, I said, dude, our Quran bore little resemblance to the so-called Islamic Quran. It contains significant elements from the Bible, Apocryphal, Yahshua, Jesus' Gospels, and the Rosicrucian Manual, a form of Freemasonry. When my sis was talking about, I read in the book, and I would like to unto thee I grant, when they talk about one God, the monotheism, in the intro. Right? The Rosicrucian is a form of, they try to say high level masonry, but it ain't nothing but lower level masonry. And it's text in addition to material from the Quran. Just like when people get things and don't understand it, when I say Europeans always try to replace God with themselves. And we buy their books, but your own brother teach the science. And if they was here, they'd be sitting at my feet because they only 32 and 33 degrees. So when a European, I write a book called Atlantis of Latter Days, and we think that book's so ancient. That book ain't ancient. That's lower level masonry. They part of the Philosophical Research Society like me. It's lower level wisdom. My fears is not defiled. And so Atlantis of Latter Days is nothing but the Osiris mysteries. Just like when you hear O. Dirty Bastard talk about, I'm the Osiris of this. See, ODB wasn't stupid. He played stupid. If anybody knew ODB, you sat with him, that man brilliant. He know about everything. He did that to make his money. So when I talk about the Osiris mysteries and one God, if you're going to get all into that history and say it's valid and then diss anything, where it all comes from that. Understand it. sis. Right? Noble Ali taught African Americans they were Asiatic. And I understand about Eurasia and all the names, but I can agree to things. Understand that. But we can trace ourselves to Asiatics, Eurasia, or America. And we could trace our ancestry back to Morocco. And beyond that, to who? Yahshua. No Al-Islam, Farrakhan, if he was right here, he'll agree with everything I'm saying. But then they get with that religious stuff that confuse people. That ain't based on nothing but dogma. African Americans should abandon their misnomer slave identity, religion, and reclaim their heritage. Converse generally added our nobility, which is our suffix, our LOR Bay, which is the House Joint Resolution 75. Research what the House Joint Resolution 75 is when I be speaking of things. And we carry a nationality card if you part of a tribe, which our temple and school is. It don't replace nothing. Men, we wear our fezzes and turbans, and women wore a white or a red turban. But also, as me being the teacher and the sheik of the Burning Bush Tabernacle, I let our empresses know the white fez and the gold tassel represents you. You can't let no man tell you that the white fez and the gold tassel not you, because you the Eastern Star. You the star that was born in the East. The white fez with the gold tassel represent the whole birth cycle. That mundane ball, that whole gold tassel is you, my empresses. So how can we wear some that give homage to the ninth power of 9, and the damn 9 can't even wear what she represent? It don't make sense. Understand what I'm saying? Right? We wear our fez. We avoid eating things that was dangerous to us. I call it slave food. And also not abusing alcohol or any foreign substance. Get Islam for Dummies. Who wrote it? Malcolm Clark. Professor Emeritus of Religion, page 245. See, I got all this stuff referenced in my book. I'm quoting it. So you can go and look it up and be like, yep. So you can see what others saying. Here you go, sis. It was the worship of the wrong ideas, thoughts, and gods that have placed us in this predicament we are in today. We're instructed by our prophet and myself as a guide and a map to return to our own vine and fig tree and leave others alone. Surah 45, Ayat 28 of the Quran of Mecca states, and I quote eloquently with a holy tongue, "And you will see each nation humble to their knees, kneeling. Each nation will be called to its record of deeds, vine and fig tree." That's the record of deeds. "This day you shall be recompensed for what you used to do." And this relates to deeds, aka actions. Yet a deed is a manifest of thought. And if Moors, true light seekers, whatever you want to call yourself, are using thought in the manner of descent, then this leaves all the room for the lower self to manifest. But yet when Moors know well of the lower self, we know well of the illusions. And these shall pass. And these shall pass. This wisdom is only known when Moors and true light seekers have began to make ascension. And the ascension is only through remembrance. That's why worship is a form of what? Remembrance. And not the only one. When I talk about meditation, see, meditation is defined as the act of what? Contemplation or reflection of spiritual matters. That's why I asked Morris, are you a contemplator or a procrastinator? Here you go, God. I ask people that. Are you a procrastinator or contemplator? Contemplator, where you going, babe? Contemplator versus procrastinator. And these words are synonyms. They mean the same thing. Meditation and contemplation. Meditation and contemplation. And this science is done in silence and usually in the same location. Whenever being exercised. And the purpose of meditation is for the presence of God, the presence of Allah. Right? No matter what name you call on. And our Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 8, ayat 6 states, and I quote, Allah lives not in the nose of tongues. There is no way. There is no way. Not even from any idol or shrine. Surah 7, ayat 205 of the Holy Quran states, and remember your Lord within yourself. And remember your Lord within yourself. Yourself, humbly. I don't like the word humbly. I use gratitude because I ain't humble and nice. Look up what humble and nice really mean. And with fear, not the fear of you scared, but with the fear of admiration. And without loudness in words in the mornings and in the afternoons. And be not of those who are neglectful. These are confirmations of the importance of worship. Ibadah. It is these important truths that raise the faith, which is the true Iman of the Moorish and our pursuit of being what? The perfected man. When I talk about your al-salat, raising up. Now, I'm not mad of anything else, but your al-salat when you raise up. Yahshua. Some call it Jesus, but it never was a J in the Hebrew dialect. In our Moorish Quran was a student in many different mystery schools, which he sat in only to find the commonality or the synchronicity. If prophets traveled in the Mediterraneans all over, that means it's a synchronicity with those he was sent to redeem and save. Whenever Yahshua, which the modern man called Jesus, but it was never a J in the Hebrew dialect, he actually corrected the teachings. That's what I'm doing. There's nothing wrong with correction when it's from love. We correct the teachings that were given to us and pass all tests. In chapter 12, page 19 of our Moorish Holy Quran, ayat 1. In silent meditation, Yahshua sat beside a flowing spring. It was holy day, Friday, and many people of the servant caste were near the place. See, this is what we're supposed to be doing. This ain't just nothing that we just do. And in chapter 11, page 18, ayah 16 of our Moorish Holy Quran, regard not then what any man has said. Let us forget the flesh and go with mind into the land of fleshless, into the fleshless things. Mind never does forget. And backwards through the ages. That's the cycle of time. I remember when I was in the ministry in the churches and I did a lecture and a teaching of scars, scabs, and wounds. And I said, do you know the difference from a scar, a scab, and a wound? Once you know the difference from a scar, a scab, and a wound, my God, then you can heal within. You can look at that and be like, man, I'm not no victim. This is victory. And you be a testimony. Everybody's story is different. Everybody go through trials and tribulations. That's why I tell everybody we got to be okay with doing family things. And that's the difference from us and a lot of people. We don't do family things. We got to sit and talk and do family things and talk and love. That's what this is about, coming together. Masterminds can trace themselves, and thus we know. This is a self-examination for any servants to and for Allah. In this context, servants mean a slave to what you love. I ain't talking about you getting whipped, but understand when you're a slave to something, that means you can't live without it. My empress, I'm a slave to that. Can't live without it. It's certain things that we can't live without. So in this context, you a slave of certain things, your commitments, your dedications. Stay in that context. And we as Moors are to serve our Father God Allah. When I say love is an action word. That's our master per se, the God within, that sent us this masterful example. Back then, you had to know our prophet Noble Drew Ali, that was in the flesh. We had reminders. But see, we don't have to always give homage and praise to dead things. We can give homage and praise to our prophets and things in the flesh. That's what I tell people. We can't say the only prophets was people that's gone and passed, and we have them right now. Oh, so Malcolm was a regular man. Martin Luther King was a regular man. Deuce Muhammad was a regular man. All these prophets was people. Chapter 38, page 38, ayat 1 and 2. Repent not, O man, at the state of servitude. It is the appointment of Allah, and have many advantages. It removed thee from cares, right? And solicitudes in life. The honor of a servant is his what? Fidelity. The highest virtues are submission and obedience. I ain't talking about to nothing outside of yourself. I'm talking about submission and obedience to yourself. That's the God within. Moors and true light seekers are to give the cares of the world to what? Something bigger than yourself. Something bigger than yourself. And then everything will take care of itself. We keep running into words like submission, praise, meditation, prayer, worship, remembrance. These are tenets of saving powers that man, that woman, that we utilize. What I call attributes. The self-examination is constant because man, woman, is the lower state and is eternally a beast in the wilderness. Stay in that context. Irish American prayer, which I say is our map, is a guide to get us to a destination that is known by the pure at heart. Our prophet in the Noble Drew Ali was an example. You an example. I'm an example. All righteousness is an example. That's the way, the truth, and the light of Allah. Chapter 10, page 16, ayat 17 and 18. The nations of the earth see Allah from different points of view. And so, that manifestation does not see them the same to everyone. Every man don't see it the same. Man names the part of Allah that he or she sees. And this is to him, is all he or she sees of Allah. And every nation sees a part of Allah. And every nation has a name for Allah. God, etc., Yahweh, Buddha, whatever. The Dhikr, the D-H-I-K-R, is another mention of remembrance. And with that form of remembrance, we call upon the names, the attributes of Allah. When my noble Alonzo, when he do our benediction, and he give all those beautiful attributes of Allah. El-Rahim, El-Malik, Yahak, Yahum Yamin. You know, we see from our Moorish Quran that Allah has many names. Even in your biblical scriptures, in your holy name Bible, your God name Bible, you see, they say Jehovah Jireh, but it's not a J. It's pronounced it wrong. It's Yahweh Jireh. El Elyon. You know, all these attributes. Right? The Quran of Mecca, Surah 17, Ayat 110 says, O Muhammad, invoke all or invoke the most gracious Allah by whatever name you invoke him. What you was running? It is the same. Oh, let me reverse. Reverse. The Holy Quran of Mecca, Surah 17, Ayat 110 says, O Muhammad, invoke Allah or invoke the most gracious Allah by whatever name you invoke him. It is the same. Am I making that up? Come on now. If we're going to say we coming from the Quran, we got to do the work. Invoke Allah or invoke the most gracious by whatever name you invoke him. It is the same. For him belongs the best names with the S. That's plural. The best names. So when I tell my empress, or when you tell the one you love, ooh, you are beautiful. You amazing. You magnificent. You're dependable. You're trustworthy. All those are attributes of the same manifestation. When you go to work, you might have a title. If you have an empress, you have a title with that. You have children, you have a title. You might have different affiliations. Those are titles of what? The same essence. What we call those attributes of the same being, the same essence. One hat, a circle. If I was teaching you in business, I say, okay, you got this one business circle. And off that one, we can have all these attributes off of it. But we got this one body. And offer your salat, which is your prayer, neither aloud nor in a low voice, but follow a way between, natural, flowing. In our map, which is our Moorish American prayer, Noble Drew Ali, our prophet, he described and prescribed eloquently the two best names. And these are what? Protector and guide. When we say our Moorish American prayer, Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my guide, my protector, and my salvation, by night and by day. So, in our Moorish American prayer, two of the best attributes is protector and a guide. I don't need nothing else. Give me a protector and a guide. And it is these two names, or these two attributes, that believers, that true light seekers, worldwide seek when they in prayer, guides and protection, regardless of the denomination. That's why I love the call to prayer. When you hear the call to prayer, when it Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, when you hear that, man, it's so beautiful. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. When you hear that call to prayer, Allah Akbar, and when they really be breaking it down, they go all into that Islamic prayer, man, that sound is so beautiful and so sweet, and nobody can deny that. You get chills on you, because I do. Allah is my protector and my guide through worship and remembrance. Protector and guide. It is these two names that we seek worldwide. And if we believe in the one God, monotheism, the one God, then protection and guidance are human necessities that are only confronted through worship and remembrance. That's why the God within, the arm, leg, arm, head, the Allah, the God within, the I, the self, the law, the master, the generator, the operator, the destroyer, the master, the able, the noble, the Allah is my protector and my guide. This is what we say in our prayer. See, I understand about this creation and this a creator. I'm not saying that I am the creator, but I am a creation that can create. So I am made in the image of the great God within. This is also a zikr, Z-H-I-K-R, which is a remembrance that is expounded upon through breath and internalized and applied through the will, which is a force of Allah. That's why the 5 divine principles are also names of Allah: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And this is the divine love. And it leads the true light seeker to what? The truth. The al-Haqi, or the Hal-Ki. And truth grants one peace, the as-Salam. And this is synchronized or interconnected, or how can I say it? Jointed for the guidance and protection of Allah. And it leads one to the true wisdom of self and creator as a unifying and divine experience. And it gives us an utmost peace. And this is freedom and justice. Everybody should want freedom and justice. Justice is man being held accountable for his own ways and actions, reward and penalty. That's why when I speak, people may be mad, but I speak from experience. I said it's a reward or a penalty for your actions. Period. And no matter, no one like it, I say, I'm telling you, you will reap what you sow. That's why I'm telling you, experience. If a person been burned and went through the fire of things, that's valid. That's what we call experience. People pay for that. Which is manifest by what? Man himself. You can't have no experience if you're not in the flesh. That's why I tell people, we get a guide to go anywhere. Oh man, I got to get the map to go here. But in life, you don't want a guide and a map. We just going to walk through this stuff with our eyes wide shut. It don't make sense. Remove the ego. Remove the pride. And stand up and arise. I'm telling you. This is also justice on the spiritual level. And that is also Allah alone. That's what a lot of, I tell brother, I say, the spiritual, we fight in the spiritual. You don't heal on your own. Protector, the Yah Muhayamin, or the Yah Muyamin, which my nobles say. That's the protector, the guide, the Yah Hadi, the truth, the Yah Haqui, the peace, the Yah Salam, or Salim. However you want to pronunciate it. These are just a title of the 99 names of Allah. Actually, it's 100. Why? Because Allah is one. That ain't no riddle. If it's 99 names of Allah, and you say it's 99 names of a person, well, damn it, his name, the attribute is Allah. So it's 100. That our holy prophet placed in the map. And these are the names to be called upon to conjure or to bring up after prayer. While in what? Meditation. While in what? Contemplation. When I say you don't pray over the things you love, you don't pray over the people you love, you got to get into a habit of it. You don't got to make no crowd or no big old statement to do it. You do these things in your meditation, contemplation. When I talk about the tasawwuf, those that understand the Sufis, not just going around saying it, but really do the rituals inner. We know that a sheikh is supposed to guide you, and Moore's guide is the prophet. Back then in the flesh, and prophet to today, like myself and others. That's what our 101s say. Read your 101s. The house is built, the furniture in it. Now we just need somebody to orchestrate it. Like when I was telling one of my nobles, and he was like, well, Sheik, you know, man, I got to start just, actually following a lot, and going into prefaces. I said, noble, we got to stop beating ourselves up if you in heaven. I said, if you in heaven, you in a righteous place and everything around you is beautiful, you excited around all this beautiful stuff, no matter which way you go, forward, back, left, right, it's all beautiful stuff around you. So all you need is a guide. That's it. When you in heaven, think about it. Think about it in the context, in the metaphysical aspect, what I'm saying. Think about it. Think about it. The importance of prayer, worship, remembrance is, how can I say, synchronized. It's a synchronized part of our divine creed because it's definitely pertaining to Allah, and Allah alone, demonstrated through the action of the application of our principles, which are tenets and beliefs. To call upon Allah's beautiful names, on God's beautiful names daily. And all that we do is remembering, keeping the name of God, of Allah, in our heart. When people say, what's the closest place to find Allah? In the heart. So if the closest place to find Allah in your heart, how many times a day you give Allah homage and love? We keep the name of Allah on our tongue. On our tongue. And this is what produces what? Mercy, justice, love, and right. Because Allah becomes what? Our guide and our protector, which is in what? Your Moorish American prayer. Allah, Father in the universe, Father, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my guide, my protector, and my salvation. By night and by day. Through His holy prophet. That's what we say. So then, if that's the case, if we not operating with that and a true map and a guide in the flesh, then the lower self is alive and well in this science. And it's because a lot of Moors, true light seekers, misnomer NBCs, whatever they want to connotate themselves, do not know what the divine creed is. You got to know what the divine creed is. They say you operating on true tenets. You got to know how the temple was set up before you promulgate something or make any video. You must know. If not, it's all folly. No one has taught it since Noble Drew Ali. I teach the tenets, the basics, because the divine comes first. I ain't seen no Moors teaching the divine creed. No disrespect, no disrespect. And I got to toot my own horn because other people tell me, grown men, grown women, my mother, my father, people way older than me and most people that's on here. They say they ain't teaching this and expounded on it like you do in your research sheet. Adults tell me this. And so I tell people it's my mission to teach our people our divine creed and nationality. That's my mission. Some have made the statement that our prophet plagiarized the Moorish Quran. So then I have to say, well, let's define plagiarism. Or no, define it. Because those accusations when you say things, and that's slander. The practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as one's own. I told you in academia, when I quote references, when I say peer-reviewed scholarly research, Noble Drew Ali didn't plagiarize nothing. He said he gathered, compiled, and divinely prepared. And then I showed people how the European Eliseus Levi said he wasn't nothing but a transcriber. And then we'll give credit to Eliseus Levi with that Aquarian gospel stuff. That's why I'd be laughing at us. And he'll tell you where he got it from. The Moorish Akashic records. Our Moorish Holy Quran was divinely prepared. As it's stated on the cover of the Moorish Quran. The word is prepared, which is past tense. So if I say prepared, P-R-E-P-A-R-E-D, that's past tense. I said it's prepared, which is past tense. So then you look up prepare, meaning to make something ready for use or consideration of anything pertaining, relating to God. That's why when I speak eloquently, I say Moors know that truth does not change or pass away. And the truth is art. And art is Allah, which is law. Noble Drew Ali, myself, and true light seekers, that's maps and guides. We give the credit to where the credit comes from. Divine sources, prepared in a guide. I gave you eloquently how the Moorish Quran was gathered and compiled. All my members got all the literature and the books, how the Moorish Quran was gathered and compiled. From the references that I haven't gave them the Brahmin text yet. I'm about to give all my nobles the Brahmin text, and I'm going to show them. They'll be like, damn, this is the Moorish Quran. Be like, yeah. They already got the unto thee I grant. Some of my nobles already got the Moorish Akashic records. Read the back. It tell you it's some of the shit word for word. Divine. All other books came after our prophet's transition. But Noble Drew Ali gave us one prepared directly from him with the remedy to our mental slavery. Allah does not give a foreigner to us as a redeemer. It does not fit with what a prophethood consists of. Cross-reference this in Surah 14:4 and 49:13 from the Holy Quran of Mecca. And you can gain a better understanding in relation to us having a prophet who speaks the language of those he or she are to redeem. So the message would be clear, conscious, and definite message. Just like I'm saying, if I'm coming in another language to a group of people that speak another language with me, I can't give you no divine message. Man, I got to be in linguistics. So the first thing I got to do is teach you the words that are coming out of my mouth. You don't know nothing what the hell I'm saying. So how can I come and teach a people that speak a different language than me? The first thing I got to do is be in linguistics. So I got to take the time, and then if they don't have the aptitude to learn my language, what type of redeemer am I? That don't come in the voice of the people. Chapter 1 gives reference to the celestial hierarchy, which reference some, not all of the angelic hierarchy. Our prophet Noble Drew Ali in the flesh then, myself today, that's a map and a guide, reference that these beings would aid us. The seraphim, the word seraph, S-E-R-A-P-H, is from the Aramaic, which means to burn. Seraphim also means fiery flying serpents, which dwell in the presence of Allah, surrounding the station of Allah. They cleave, and we identify them with the fire of healing and love. And that manifestation received the revelations of Allah before the other angels, and each Sifrat radiates powerful lights and is the caretakers of the highest spiritual celestial stations. If I'm saying something that sounds, somebody talk to me, man. Y'all like what I'm saying? If y'all like what I'm saying, say Islam, say something. I'm here talking to the people. What my noble say? Hold on. I got some of my people. He said, man, gratitude, Sheikh, for your teachings. We sent you a donation. Gratitude. It's all love. But anyway. Oh, my fault. Let me put it back up. I didn't put the phone down. Y'all can see. Okay. But some Moors have moved Moors far away from that which is spiritual and divine. And I always talk about they're going to teach you Islam, Noble Lamarck. Talk about they're going to teach you, I deal with civics. You don't deal with no civics. You teaching people how to be criminals. And they moved away from the divine, where the divine comes first. And finds it more suitable to put more faith in the works of men. That's why a true master Moorish teacher can show you how to trace yourself back and even take you back yourself to make it rain, make it thunder or lightning. And these are the possibilities that we witnessed during the time of our prophet. And some learned these sciences. But out of greed, ego, some Moors adhered to themselves and did not teach. It is a very sad occurrence in our movement. See, let me tell y'all something about people and how people think people crazy. Like when I talk about growth, and I say, wasn't Malcolm sweet red? And so then the person was talking about I was mentoring some young guys, and they was talking about the rapper Kevin Gates, and they was like, well, how you feel about Kevin Gates? And I was like, I don't feel no way about him, you know. And I was like, well, I said, from my synopsis, I said he has some intelligence about him. He has some intelligence about him. He's grown. You listen to what the man said. And so it's some things that he talk about that is current and valid. So what I'm saying is the growth factor of learning. You know what I mean? Getting to go into yourself, working out, looking at a person when they was in a lower self, than looking at them now. Looking at a person when they was abusing themselves and they were trying to self-medicate, and then look at them now and you look at the change and you look how they shed all that stuff, and people be saying you glowing. It's how you living. I'm telling you, you get to know what's within. That's why being in the brotherhood is so beautiful. I'm telling you, man, the prophet Jesus had disciples, and the disciples went out and got other disciples and apostles and etc. You know? Just like our Moorish Divine Creed. Numbers, that's part of our Moorish Divine Creed, what? Is one. Pertaining to Allah, the one, the universal. The one, the universal, that deity. And all things emanate from the one. The thought of creation was made manifest from the one. The kun fayakun. The number 3 applies to the true in Allah. Wisdom, will, love. And the 2 is known as what? The 3-step ladder. Belief, faith, fruition. And at times, faith and hope are interchangeable. That's why 5, the number 5, applies to man and those 5 points. with 72 degrees separating each point, making man 360. That's the lower level wisdom. As we stand, surrounded by what? That unseen circle. Y'all hear? You know what I'm talking about? That so-called circle 7. We exercising of your 5 senses when studying yourself. The 5 divine principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Absolutely, Malik. And the divine 5 are all attributes of Allah. We are to live this divine principle of thought, word, deed, action, character. That's why I say Moors and true light seekers. A true Moor's noble, a true master able noble is what he knows, not what he is told. Moors are to become our divine principles, literally being the message of what? That interpretation or that message in the flesh. And this is when man knows, because why? We are doing, we are actually applying, we are living in the essence. And Allah placed deeply in man and woman every attribute of himself, of that attribute. In the soil, aka the physical manifest, aka the soul, aka the soil, is what? Your brain, your hippocampus. Man, woman has this infinite capability or capacity to be what? These 5 divine principles. And much more. Why? Because all the attributes were planted deeply in me, in you. You got to understand what I'm saying. This is true gospel. And all of our divine principles are forced. All of it is forced. It's the will of Allah. It's the will of God and man. And that's why sometimes man fights to become that will. That's why strength of Allah made manifest, which is what? That Muslim has nothing to do with color. Understanding. That's why we also adhere to the scimitar that states justice, sitting over the head of man, symbolized by the star with the 5 points. And what we know, what these 5 points represent, but where do we find these 5 points? Come on, noble Malik. Where do we find these 5 points living? Where do we find them in ourselves? For Allah and man is one. For God and man is one. The Bible says that man was made in the image of Allah. It was in the image of God. So how somebody gonna say you were made as something that's not worthy of praise? We as Moors and true light seekers that accept and can identify ourselves and can tell you who we are. We know surely that the number 7 is the perfected number of God, of Allah and creation. For example, or an analogy, 7 days of creation, 7 continents, 7 notes of music, 7 heavens, 7 bodies of water, 7 layers of skin, 7 levels, protoplasm, earth, plant, beast, man, cherubim, angel, 7 gates on our face, 7 days in a week. That's just a tittle. The number 7 is the perfected man sitting at the realms of paradise, which is that circle. Stay in the context. Being the Lord of both planes. The quadrants representing the mastery of the elements and the prophets. The Muhammad, the Confucius, the Buddha, the Yahshua, which is the modern man say Jesus, as well as the gates, meaning ages of time. Stay in the context. We also use the number 12, which ties back to what? A working tool, which is in our Moorish Quran, chapter 5. This is known as the 12-step ladder. But Moors, we see Allah, and we prefer the odd numbers. Stay in the context. One of our symbols, known as salvation, is what? A crescent and a star, which was seen where? Hanging lowly in the sky, and represented the coming of our prophet and our Redeemer under a sign that took place in the universe, being what? God's mercy upon us. Allah's mercy upon us. I'm synchronizing the teaching. Come on. We also have the all-seeing eye, which means Allah. The all-seeing eye of the Moorish Science Temple is a fleshly eye, alluding to the unity of Allah and man, and has no shape surrounding such as a triangle, which mean limitation and obligation. Their eye is bound. When I tell people, when you see some eye and some triangle, that ain't from no Egypt. That's some European, no disrespect, Albion, Negro, black color, man, Mason stuff. If your eye is in some pyramid, then how your eye gonna go freely? It's trapped. Just like when no disrespect again, when a European Mason and a Negro Mason tassel pinned down, and you will never see them wearing their fairs in real life, it's pinned down. Why? I ain't in no damn pyramid. That ain't any books, any science, anything. If they are more, our eye is not surrounded by nothing. That eye rolls freely. You better let people stop playing with you. Whatever I do in the day, in the dark, I do in the day. I'm a grown man. And everything I do is legit. And we also see the cherubim, which is significantly different, or it's that divine knowledge, that wisdom. And these are the ones often sent to earth to carry out a task, such as expelling man from the holy city. The cherubim also gives wisdom and the knowledge to the lesser angels. That's my mission. Some Moors have moved so far away from it. You know? We got to talk about that. We've forgotten the divine principles. When I talk about other signs and symbols and other things that signify us, when I talk about that the unity of the two clasped hands, the unity of the two clasped hands, the unity of the two clasped hands. Remember I give the analogy? Man, listen, you got to get into the science when the lion and the lamb can lie down at night and no one will be harmed, right? But the clasped hands, many will say it represents us being united. Listen to this science in this context. Yes, that's true. When I talk about the esoteric and the exoteric, yes, that's true. That's the esoteric meaning. But the eso meaning, from the science and the history and the research, is that our hand is placed inside the hand of Allah. As man and Allah are one, removing the need for the intercessor. As we are taught that each man is a priest unto himself or herself. Not saying you don't have a God and a map and a Buddha. But when a woman has united with Allah, or is striving to unite with God from his or her own heart, then they only then can he or she unite with others. This cannot happen if man is idolizing his administration or her administration and leadership. That's why I try to bring my brothers up. I said we all are part of this body. How can we be a complete body? The head don't say to the foot it want to be the foot. The foot don't say to the finger it want to be the finger. No, we all got to come together to play this position. We a body, a community, a nation, a tribe. And when true guys and maps want to be the only one, that's the problem. We forgot that divine, that spiritual side of this movement, which is our divine and national movement, as our prophet taught and demonstrated while in the physical. We got to understand, whatever you want to call it, the secular, it could not exist without the spiritual, which is the divine laws, which preceded all the books of laws. We got to pay the same attention to the divine as we have been to the national side. You see? When I ask Moors, they should know what Act 6 is of our divine constitution and bylaws. It clearly states that we are to teach nationality and divine creed. What is divine? Divine of, relating to, or proceeding directly from Allah or God. Creed, a system of belief, principles, or opinions, aka laws. For extra research, Moors, some words that are synonyms to creed are what? Ideology, testament, doctrine, gospel, philosophy. Therefore, Moors and true light seekers, divine creed is the process of applying a particular system. Islamism, old time religion, ancient or belief, principles, laws that relate and proceed directly from Allah. And the method is which this express is through the cultural, the spiritual demonstration, hence the term Moorish Islam that was given to us through our Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Don't get mad at me. I don't have no problem with my religious brothers that do 5 salats. I don't care. But Moors are not Arabs. That's a misnomer. The European agree with me. I'll get y'all the history. I got researched a book called, it's a book by Bertram Thomas. It's called The Arabs. They took page 293 out, the genealogy, but I got the original book. And then I got Vladimir Dale's 1863 dictionary, explain what a Moor is. And I give you another history back in the day of an ancient writer back in the day when it tells you what a true Arab, not Arab, A-R-A-B, what a true A-R-A-P is. And I bet you don't look like what you think. And ain't no disrespect to no one. This scholarship. Moors are not Arabs and do not proceed to the Arabic nationality or the nationalistic ideology they call al-Islam. If you are Moor, because that's just your birthright, you a Moor. But if you are religious, if you are al-Islam Moor, that's on you. But that's not Moor science. And you can't promote, and you can't go around and say Moor science from al-Islam. Moor science, we don't believe in one religion where we miss the essence of the rest. Just like in my background or my makeup, IDMR, which is the Institute of Divine Metaphysical Research. And one of my prophets and elders was Dr. Henry Clifford Kinley. So I got to be clear of that. We teach the divine scriptures that man was made in the image of the great God, period. We teach everything that they talk about in the Bible symbolizes your body. We teach the scriptures. But a lot of stuff what people think we're not. And more science is not al-Islam. And it does not equate to what our Prophet Muhammad taught. It demonstrated as the living Quran. I have to say that all the time because I'm not going to let nobody go around and say, oh, so it's more science from al-Islam, and I just told you the Moorish Quran wasn't based off no al-Islam. I showed you what the Moorish Quran is clearly consists of. So nobody, only person that's doing that is they lying. And if they want to say anything about the temple, here it is right here. And I'm anointed and consecrated through the Moorish Science Temple of America. But yes, it was whack. I'm going to say it. My mom on my IG page right now, it's a temple in my city of Flint, Michigan, on, what is that, ML King, and it don't even be open. And no disrespect. I'm just keeping it 100. No disrespect to no one. If they ever lose it, I'm buying it. Just like when I was speaking the other day, man, and a lot of people talk about, oh, they love New York. I said, so do y'all know what's buried under Wall Street? I'm going to talk about it before my lecture Saturday in a dot class. I talked about it the other day, but I'm going to go way more in detail. I'm going to go way more in detail of what's under Wall Street. We got to know ourselves. Allah, Islamism, the first divine instruction given to Moors, which is a commandment for our divine creed, and is rooted and grounded in Allah and Allah alone, and our connection to Allah. Now, when I'm saying Allah, man, it's God. Think about this. I want people to know, because this fez is not no Islamic, this is our national headdress. When I wear my kufi and all those hair wraps, listen, a lot of, in the Bible, if you got your Hebrew lexicon, my tunic or my kuthra, it's in the Bible. Researching your Hebrew lexicon. The followers of Yahshua wore the tunic, long or short, cotton or silk. The followers of Yahshua wore the bonnet, which I wear, had earrings, a sash, all that. The followers of Yahshua wore a turban with the jewel on it. Research it. So when people say, oh, we ain't just like no Muslim, we're just like the people of the book. It's telling you how we look. And then I can show you documents that they have in the museums and the libraries. You'll see a picture. It'll look just like you and me. These is facts. So beliefs, something believed or accepted as true, especially a particular tenet or a body of tenets, accepted by a group of persons, principle, a basic truth, law, or assumption. And we must explore our Moorish Islam from its divine side and how it could and should be applied to our daily lives in all aspects of that said life. And the purpose of man is to give worship, praise, and remembrance to our Creator in thought, word, deed, action. 3 important pieces of literature that all Moors should have in possession are what? Our Moorish Holy Quran, which is divinely prepared and not authored by our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the Moorish American Questionnaire, and the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. I bet you all my nobles have it. Moors don't even have it. And then I asked Moors, do you got the Silent Brotherhood of the East? And then I know Moors being prototypical said, oh, my sheikh said I can't have that. Well, how the hell your sheikh gonna tell you you don't have the part of the book that go together? So how you got the story, you ain't, and they talk about you can't have the other part of the book? That's stupid. And the damn Silent Brotherhood of the East is just layman terms. And these 3 pieces of literature contains many of the principles and beliefs that make up our creed. Just like how every Moor sheikh or whoever they say don't know how the temple set up. Because they lying to you. That's why they can't say nothing to me. That's why I said I don't need to affiliate with none of them liars. But our divine creed, beliefs that make up our creed, and from a holistic thought, all 4 gates of paradise. When Prophet Noble Drew Ali spoke of belief, when I speak of belief, and that is what makes us think as truth, and face is what man knows as truth, and fruition is man, is one man, himself or herself. That truth is known as the 3-step ladder, which is not physical at all, but deals with man, deals with one man, and the development of that spirit. How many are standing on the Master's 3-step ladder? On that step, that 3rd step, which is fruition, the seed that blossomed to the fruit, which is the fruition. You got to understand and remember, bring back to your remembrance that our divine creed would always lead man back to what? God, to Allah, and our own self. Moors, we are taught and understood that the true workshop being in the mind and the utilizing of what? Of the spiritual tools to do what? To develop ourself, to sculpt oneself into perfected man, into the perfected one man, right? Like chapter 1 of our Moorish Quran, the beliefs and principles that Moors adhere to, knowledge such as thoughts of Allah, not being circumscribed, bodies and souls of men are finite things. Man is not the body nor the soul. We are a spirit and a part of Allah. Man is the thought of Allah, and all thoughts of Allah are infinite. Spirit man is the seed of Allah and holds every attribute of Allah, every attribute of God deep within. God is nothing but generator, operator, destroyer. You, once again, the human seed from Allah, ordained to be the Lord of the plane of souls and the plane of things made manifest, which is the Khalifa, which is the that protector. That perfected man must pass through all the ways of life, and man has a foe. The foe is our carnal self. Nature springs forth from the flesh, and man and woman cannot die. Why? Because spirit man is one with God, is one with Allah. That's why all Moors, we are to follow laws and the divine creed. These are the tenets as truth, for Allah is truth. And this is pertaining to Allah, which makes the divine, which makes the authority. That's why in our Moorish Quran it states that man know thyself and thy father God, Allah. And it gives us our divine origin and connection. And this understanding or principle from our gospel, we honor truth that man and Allah are one. we honor the truth. And another name we give this is what? That holy breath. And breath is directly related to the spirit or spirit man, which is a thought of Allah. The thought belongs to what? The sender. The thought belongs to the sender. And the thought returns to the sender. Man is the smaller amount, or in science we like to call that micro or the macro, pertaining to the lower levels of the creation. We do as Allah. We create and thoughts manifest and shape into what? These physical realities. What we as Moors release into the atmosphere always returns to sender. That's why I say you reap what you sow. A workman is due his or her hire. That's why the teachings always say we got to be reminded that all faithful Moors to keep our minds pure and our bodies pure and clean with water. That's an analogy too. What's important to remember is that keeping the mind pure, the thoughts, because thoughts shape and create our own heaven of hell, as these conditions are made by man himself. When I talk about premeditated, nothing happens osmosisly, which is a belief or principle that Moors live out and apply. The self, as our Moorish divine creed always leads us back to what? Allah and the self. In chapter 1, is there a mention of religion or even the word Islam? See, Moorish Islam introduced to us by our Prophet Noble Drew Ali and illuminated today by myself as a map and a guide and a teacher and a sheikh. It's older than any organized religion of Al-Islam, which differs from the Islam Prophet Noble Drew Ali demonstrating what I teach. We are told that our Islam comes from Palestine, Kemet, and India. Nowhere is Arabia mentioned. And these locations precede Arabia in spiritual sciences. Nobles, when I talk about this, is not orthodox. This is to hope secure. The orthodox Islamic world would attempt to label our expression as shirk. See, this one I can correct the teachings because I'm an imam. I said the orthodox Islamic world would attempt to label our expression as shirk, binding partners with Allah. That's why you have to get my new book that I gathered to compile, the Al-Salat, and the Messianic paradigm. It'll blow your mind. Or not real Islam, but the reality is you cannot separate yourself from your creator. And to do so, this is true shirk. As the ancients expressed, a unified, a harmonious spiritual alignment and connection to your divine source. And knowing the relation is to actually have infinite divine experience. And how can the thought separate itself from the creator of the said thought? See, organize that type of religion that don't bring up man, it can't answer that question. Because they actually see God, Allah, as a sky god, sitting on some throne, on a cloud. And today's movement, some Moors have become nationally, material, physically, believing that it's the only way to work. That's an imbalance. The divine must be applied first. And we can all agree. We can all agree, man. That's why more is lost. That the divine creed, there's no separation from Allah and man. Our prophet taught us, I teach us about the two selves, the higher, the lower. The higher self is the human spirit clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah. The lower, the carnal, the self, the body, or the desire, the lower self. Distorted reflection. When I ask nobles, is your relationship based on conditional love or unconditional? Can you have a discussion and it's still love? Or is it based on what you do? Do your emperor see God in you? Are you the minister in your home? The higher self, the embodiment of truth, lower self, the truth reverse. The only devil is self. Man's savior is inside of self. And this pertains directly to Allah and man again as one. Muslims call it tawhid, but tawhid, their concept, does not align themselves to be connected to Allah. It's no disrespect. The true oneness is an African manifest, just as our expression of Moorish Islam. When I talk about supreme hika, supreme mathematics, and I'll be telling Moors, man, this is applied mathematics. This ain't for no dummies. That's why people that don't really want to learn, they can all get caught up by court jesters. And I call it Negrotainment. And my little humble synopsis on Moorish science and the divine creed is not bounded. And I'm not the last say of this, but I'm measuring it. And you use this for teaching. You use what I'm giving you for judgment, to compare to see what really makes sense. And I'm sure if you have any sense, you will see this make all the sense. Our Moorish divine creed is centered on changing man inward, woman inward. All this. The mind is referred to many times as man. So when I say man, I'm talking about the mind. For mind exists, but is not seen, just as the true man is not seen with the eyes of the carnal man or flesh. More as we understand that in the mind we are taught about the workshop of that mind, being where we build up the temple of the perfected man, removing all those stumbling blocks that would hinder the spirit and have it captive. Man is the physical, but what Moors are building up is not yet what Moors are building. We got to deal with this divine first. The chisel, the square, the hammer, the plummet, the axe, the compass, the plane, the two-step ladder, one consisting of 3 steps and the other consisting of 12 steps of the moral manifest. It's no reason to even deny it. Just like Yahshua mentioned continuously, and he read and studied the Manic and the Vedic laws, books of the Guanama, the Psalms, and the Avistas. This information can be found right in your Moorish Quran, in your divine instruction. Instruction and authoritative direction to be obeyed and ordered. Therefore, divine instruction can simply be defined as authoritative order pertaining to God-given direction. No one's following direction. Our Moorish Holy Quran is a part of our divine creed because of what it pertains to and what it is, directing Moors to be and the way to go. Tenets, principles. Truth cannot pass away or change, and that there are only 2 things in the world, truth and falsehood. Tenets, principles, man is truth, and falsehood is strangely mixed. Force is the will of Allah. Wisdom, faith, and understanding, and their meaning as defined by Yeshua. Man must continue to fight the true fight within self. This is the true essence of jihad, which is internal, because man is the constant conflict with his or her own self, that part of the self that sprang from the carnal nature. We as Moors must master our higher selves. So when we speak of our divine creed, it consists of many instructions, application, and guidance, including the conjuring of angelic powers, demonstrated in chapter 1. Dominions, thrones, powers, cherubim, and seraphim are tools we must use when we are in our spirit man and our spirit woman and our womanhood, aka our higher self, as well as fire, earth, air, river, thunder, and lightning. Man, woman has access to these through his or her will, through what? The higher self. Spirit man, spirit woman, who speaks from on high. For that means Allah, God, is speaking through man. Moors must understand that Allah speaks even though we cannot see Allah. And it is 2 ways according to our Moorish Quran. First, the small voice that cannot be heard by the naked ears, but you can feel it in your heart. And still, also, Allah speaks to that creation through his creation. Man facing man. Like right here. When you looking at me, when man honors man, you honor Allah. So if I'm giving the divine word from God, you get the other spirit from facing man, from man's creation. And this is the understanding in our Moorish divine creed, a power principle. So when we look in the faces of our brothers and sisters, that's anointed. And even our other brothers Moors, we are looking at the image of Allah, who speaks within. And when we honor each other, we honor Allah. And what we do for man, we do for Allah. So I don't want to finish all this book. Like I said, this is one of my books that I gathered and compiled and divinely prepared. The interpretation of the divine creed of Moorish Islam. I also have a whole bunch of other books. I have a book that's entitled The Esoteric Science of the Fez. Here go my other book. It's called the Sufism and the Triple Role of the Adapt Chamber, featuring the Comedic and Adapt Manual and the use of our carpenter tools. I'll just give you a preface of this. I remember, man, when I was at school and my mom on my IG page, and so when I be talking about it, now my mom can attest to this. When I gathered and compiled my book, my professor is a 32 and 33 degree Mason, a potentate, and he a Catholic priest. They wanted to buy my book for $10,000, my Divine Creed of Moorish Islam that I was just sharing you, for $10,000. I had to call my mom and them. They were like, well, blah, 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 blah. They were like, well, not blah, 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 but like, it ain't worth it. Put it like that. And I knew it wasn't worth it, but I always like to share things with my mother and my father. Because people be knowing what you have, and they'll try to throw a couple dollars at you and see what you jump. And that's the analogy I did with Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, when Larry Bird was playing Michael Jordan for his Big Mac. And if Larry Bird won, he get Michael Jordan Big Mac. But if Michael Jordan win, what he get? You playing for somebody for something of your own. They have nothing to offer you. I don't participate. That's what I tell people when they be asking, how do I feel about this and that and the other? I don't participate. I'm under my religious laws. I don't participate. Ask a Mormon the same thing what I'm saying. They say they don't feel no way. They don't participate. They have compassion and sympathy and empathy. But after that, come on. People make decisions. And I make decisions. That's why when a person asks you something personally, don't ask me nothing personally. Because my personal decision might not be your personal decision. So when I talk about the Adapt Chamber, you know, when I talk about the third paradise, when I talk about that triplicity, announcing the formation of the three orders of degrees within itself, the Fatimid order, the order of Jerusalem, or the Paraclete. Each of the orders is, how can I say, been misinterpreted, but each of these possess, so to speak, a, how can I say, speciality or something they all have unique. They represent three Western monotheism in their essential and esoteric harmony. Amenity of faith is achieved through hearsay, non-colonial or canonical interpretations of doctrine. These are the religions as the MOC, views and experiences, how they think they are. And in the light of our Prophet Noble Drew Ali in our Circle 7, which makes the use of the esoteric Christian and Rosicrucian Apocrypha by a synchronized principle, we inherit it. And I just illuminate the teachings. Monotheism, the living mutating entities, interpreting or intermediate, mutually, how can I say it, inclusive. The position has been called somewhat jokingly or just, how can I say, people, religious people, they don't understand it. They don't really want to understand it. And even Moors don't want to understand it. When I talk about having a clear understanding of all the science, if you were Sufi, if you're dealing with Tasawwuf, If you're dealing with God and man as one, not disrespecting nothing, but understanding it. The Fatimid order, primarily Islamic, specifically, it deploys a spiritual, initiatic affiliation with revolutionary Islamism, right? Sufism, Tasawwuf is a form of Islam. Just like Christianity got all these different forms of Christianity with the same book. Oh, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. Oh, I'm a Church of God of Christ. Oh, I'm a Southern Baptist. Oh, I'm a non-denomination. All y'all want to be all this different stuff to be what? Because y'all all want to be different. Just like the Nation of Islam. And then what you had. When Clarence X, he broke off of that. He wanted his own. I ain't saying if they right or wrong, but they started with something. They broke off on their own. No matter how nobody feel about it. That's why I'll be telling people. I'll be like, are we crazy? Malcolm X, wasn't he part of the goddamn Nation of Islam after he had his own, right? So what are we talking about? We're talking about growth. And when you get to a higher level of wisdom, man don't control you. The Fatimid dynasty of Egypt, 1913, 1171. And this line supposedly disappeared. And it's not represented by any church in the world today, other than the FO, which owes no allegiance to the Nazaris or the Qamits or the Bohras or any other Islamic sects. And it's just a fact. The Order of Jerusalem is Jewish, but specifically Judeo-Canaanite or Hebreo-Pagan or Jewish magical. In emphasis, Jerusalem is the symbolic capital city of the three monotheism, and thus the special interest to the Adept chamber. Even as the article is published on the OJ, the Order of Jerusalem, is establishing itself in Jerusalem, where it will promulgate or foster interest in the harmony and peace of faith, the study of archaic Canaanite and other Holy Land religions and cults of the Topocosm, the popular Kabbalism and magic, the traditional and the Sabbatati Sevi, the false Messiah who converted to Islam in 1666, the Dome of the Rock and the temple, symbolized by the Baqua and the half-mule, the half-angel beast that Muhammad rode to paradise, launching from the rock to the seventh heaven. There we go with the seventh again. The OJ, the Order of Jerusalem, is also a chivalric order in that it awards all its members the title Chevalier or Chevalier of the Moorish Order of Jerusalem. The purpose of the knights is to foster the to foster and protect the Messiah in Jerusalem, just like the muftis, just like my nobles, and to work for peace through interfaith harmony. The Order of the Paraclete is Christian, but since it admits potentially any form of Christianity, it is finitely flexible and expansive. The Paraclete, the one who is to come, has been identified with Muhammad and also with the Holy Spirit in the millennialism of Joachim of Four or Fior, who saw an age of the Father, which is the law, and the age of the Son, which is the so-called church, succeeded by an age of the Spirit, the utopian millennium, perfected freedom. As another millennium approaches, the OP, or the Order of the Paraclete, will function to give an esoteric interpretation and an outward manifestation to the idea. And besides the Aquarian Jesus of the Circle 7 Quran, the following Christian themes play a role in the form of the Order of the Paraclete. The Brethren of the Free Spirit, the Adamites, the Big R's and the Big Ones, the Christians, the Kabbalists, the Alchemists, and the Cometists, the Renaissance, the Neo-Platonism, the magic, the Celtic Church, and its links with paganism, certain form of Gnosticism linked to Egypt. All this stuff is proven. And so Christianity is just as complex as Islam. Right? So in Moorish science, when we talk about peace, I'm not talking about al-Islam. In Moorish science, I'm talking about peace. The synchronicity of things. Constantly linked by the mass media with all this other stuff. But see, we dealing with the supreme wisdom. For just as there is an inner side to Christianity and Judaism, so there is to Islam. That's why I tell every more and true light seeker that don't attach yourself to any particular creed exclusively, so that you disbelieve all the rest. Otherwise, you will miss much that is good, and indeed, you will fail to see the real truth. God, the omnipotent and the omnipresent, is not contained by any one creed for that manifestation. For it says in the Quran, wherever you turn, there is the face of Allah. We almost done. We in class. This is the best teaching you're going to get. You go to church for 2 hours and you don't get nothing. The mysticism of the esotericism, called in the Arabic tasawwuf of Islam, is today identified with the Sufis, a word commonly thought to come from an Arabic suf, meaning wool, after the wolf woolen robes worn by the early Muslim mystics. But contraire Moors, or however, there are several Muslim communities, such as the Ismailis, the Qamanites, the Awis, and the Druids, who derive their doctrines and practice from Islamic esotericism. In the day of Prophet Muhammad, there was no sharp distinction between the eso and the exo teachings of Islam. The Prophet instructed his inner circle, known as the companions, my inner circle, known as the muftis, and I teach all my brothers, because I have a true map and a guide, both the esoteric, which is the zahir, and the outer, or the apparent, and the esoteric, the inner, which is the batin, or the sacred, the meanings of the revelations that I received from Allah. Although Prophet Muhammad, as the last messenger in that time period of God, was the repository of a complete treasure of precepts, and he proclaimed only some of them publicly, leaving the rest undeclared. See? A Sufi tradition relates how the seed of Sufism was sown in the time of Adam, fermented in the time of Noah, budded in the time of Abram, and began to develop in the time of so-called Jesus, which is Yeshua, never with a J in the Hebrew dialect, and produced pure wine in the time of Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad and Jesus are revered as the greatest Sufis. Sufi masters like Ibn Arabi and Suwardi studied Plato and Pythagoras, but they not real. When you study stolen legacy, they real, but they got all their science from Egypt. All that stuff. Talk about the greatest thinkers. That's why when I give analogies and I give parables, when I say, I looked for that spirit on the Christian cross, but it wasn't there. I went to the Hindu temples and to the shrines, but nothing. I visited the Kaaba in Mecca. I did not find it. I questioned lone scholars. I went and got higher education, but that wisdom, that inner spirit outstripped that understanding. And finally, only finally, when I peered into my own heart, there and nowhere else was the throne. When I say you looking for Jesus, you looking for Muhammad outside, instead of you need to be finding God within. And in the 19th and the early 20th century, many of the Europe's leading esoterics traveled to the Muslim East in search of ancient wisdom. Jocelyn Godwin, a leading authority on the history of Western esotericism, explained. I'm going to always get a reference. That's why I say the European agree with me. The initiatic journey to Islamic soil has been a repeated theme of European esotericism. Ever since the Templars settled in Jerusalem and the mythical Christian Rosicrucians learned his trade in Damcar, Damascus, we find in the lies of Paracelsus and Cagliostro. Then, as travel became easier in a whole host, that includes P.B. Randolph. I'll show y'all the books. Pascal Beverly Randolph, H.P. Blavatsky, that all our people be giving credit to Europeans, but if they were in the flesh, no disrespect, they'll be giving credit to me. Max Theon, G.I. Grudiff, Aleister Crowley, a.k.a. Serapis Bey, Renee Grunin, R.A. Schwaller, D. Lubitz, and Henry Corbin. There was very likely some element of this in Napoleon's Egyptian campaign of 1797. You remember, show you how I just referenced in my other book, how Peter Lambert Wilson, the Europe, no disrespect to European, in my other book, how he say this could have came out the pages of Napoleon. No, baby, y'all know this is before that. They got this from our prophet. I'm telling you. They dress like us. They want to be like us. No disrespect. And this was very likely the elements in Napoleon's Egyptian campaign, 1797, when he announced to the astonished audience, that he too was a Muslim. That he too was a Muslim. Y'all better research this. The return to Paris to convene the Jewish Sanhedrin and to reinstate the Christian clergy. Man, Thomas Jefferson was inaugurated on the Quran. In early Egypt, in the 1800s, Madame Blavatsky, no disrespect, the European that everybody be loved and they be having pictures of her, but they give credit to your prophet Noble Ali. That's why I be laughing at us. Madame Blavatsky studied Sufism, Coptic Christianity, and the Druid order, which she described as a last survival of the archaic wisdom. Claiming to be a student of her master, Serapis Bey. That's Alice Crowley. And then they say they anointed Pascal Beverly Randolph. I'm telling you. While in Cairo. Where? Cairo. That ain't no, you're in Cairo. Madame Blavatsky met Jamal ad-Bin al-Afghani, an outstanding Muslim thinker, radical political leader, and Sufi teacher. She also traveled widely, often in Muslim dress, often in Moorish dress, in the company of Albert Rawson, who would later write an account of his initiation by the Druze for Blavatsky's book, The Isis Revealed. I'm telling you, it's all your signs. That's why I be laughing at us. Rawson was one of the founders of the Nobles, and I showed y'all the Mystic Shrine, which is modern, and I showed y'all we did that in 1800, hundreds and hundreds of years. The European is modern, no disrespect. And we're not going to give credit to your brother, but we anoint them and act like it's some power over us. No. The power is yours, yours, yours. But he said he came up with the Mystic Shrine, a secret society incorporating principles and symbols drawn from Islamic mysticism. He also wrote favorably about Gnosticism and called for a new church of humanity that should be broad and comprehensive. Read the Sacred Drift. Embracing many diverse elements, all working together for the common good, revealing to ordinary people the extraordinary attributes of their own nature by exemplifying before them the transcendent heights and depths of the human soul. Another influential spiritual teacher who journeyed through the Muslim lands in search of hidden knowledge was George Ivanovich Grudevich. He spent much of his life in Central Asia, where he encountered Sufism brotherhoods and learned of their texts, particularly the Wallet Garden of the Truth. I got that too. So how are you gonna talk about Europe did all this, and they talk about they were cavemen, they talk about they with dinosaurs, and you think they finna civilize you and right, and they'll tell you that they some damn cavemen? I ain't finna argue with nobody that. I'm gonna let you say that. Composed in the 12th century by Sufi master Hakim Sinai of Ganza. According to the author of the Teachers of Gurdjieff, Hakim Sinai's book influenced Gurdjieff's own writings. Who? People that look like you. One of Gurdjieff's prominent students, J.G. Bennett, believed the origins of Gurdjieff's system can be traced to the Sufis of Central Asia. While many people are familiar with Madame H.P. Blavatsky and G.I. Gurdjieff, few are aware of the mystic teacher who is credited with laying the foundation for the spread of Islam among black Americans. Do y'all know who? Do y'all know who? This in these Europeans' books. I put this in my book. I'm quoting. I'm showing you what they agree with me. Who are they talking about? Let's deal with it. Early in the 20th century, Noble Drew Ali, born Timothy Drew, the self-taught son of former black slaves, took a job as a merchant, seaman, and found himself in Egypt. According to legend, just what they say, but it ain't no legend. I'll show you family pictures, everything. Noble Drew Ali traveled around the world before the age of 27 in an effort to discover all he could about the heritage of his people and the tenets of Islam. This day writing, it is commonly believed he received a mandate from the king of Morocco to instruct black Americans in Islam. At the pyramid of Cheops, he received initiation and took the Muslim name Sharif, which is noble, Abdul Ali. In America, he would be known as Noble Drew Ali. On his return to the United States in 1913, he founded the Moorish Science Temple to uplift fallen humanity by returning to the nationality, divine creed, and culture to the persons of Moorish descent. In a charismatic leader, Noble Drew Ali taught that the true origin of black Americans was Asiatic, and Islam the origin religion, the fallen sons and daughters of Asiatic nations of North America. He wrote, we should learn to love instead of hate. All the stuff that I'm saying. So I wanted us to know that. I mean, it's all other writers, like I quoted, like Peter Lambert Wilson. When I talk about the Moorish Orthodox Church, Peter Lambert Wilson wrote eloquently about our prophet. He wrote books, The Drunken Universe, Scandal, essays on Islamic hearsay, The Sacred Drift, and Wilson, he writes from experience, having spent many years living among the Sufis and the Muslim communities in Asia and Middle East. Peter Lambert Wilson introduced a lot of his writings and made aware of the Moorish science through the acquaintance with Rashid Bey, an Australian initiate of Islamic esotericism. Back in 1988, he had responded to advertisement placed in a New Age magazine by Darrell Hikmet, Arabic for Adobe of Wisdom. And it speaks about all this. It speaks about Rashid Bey and all this stuff. And he talked about, and I'm quoting from him, and he said, when I finally met Rashid Bey in 1990, he was prepared to travel to Baghdad at the invitation of Iraq government. And he gave me a copy of Peter Lambert Wilson's Scandal together with the people of the Secret of Ernest Scott. All this history. All this history. So I want us to be clear on this, man. When we talk about what it is and what it's not. Just like when in my book, I show pictures and things. And then I explain it. And I say a person can't just show you signs and symbols and can't live it. And when I ask more, do they know what they're looking about? This is your Moorish Quran. This is 9. That's the sacred grooves of the order. That's the Committed and Adapt manual. And they used to buy carpenter tools. Reconstruction, the ancient and the most exalted grand, the Ka and Ba of Allah. These tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind, where things are made of thought and where we build up character. See? Oh, thanks for the donation. Yep. Yeah, it's Cash App, $ KG Bay if somebody want to donate. But I'm giving a free lecture. But if you would like the teachings, give some. And if not, it's all good. I ain't tripping. We use the square to measure all our lines to straighten out the crooked places of the way and make the corners of our conduct square. I don't want to read all that because that's in your Moorish Quran, chapter 5. It got you operating on, a lot of Moors operating on spookism. The ancient Committed mystery system and the tree of life. Don't that look like the Kabbalah? When I say I just teach the signs synchronized, I'm just a map and a guide, a prophet and an angel in the flesh. There's nothing wrong with that. In the most ancient of times, a Khamadic king named Asur discovered the method of raising his consciousness to the highest division of spirit and increasing his spiritual powers to its highest potential. When I talk about those spirits, 0, 1, 2, 3, as a result, he was able to bring civilization a spiritually controlled way of life to the people, with its accompanying social harmony, peace, prosperity. So you got to recall what was said about the attributes of Asar. You know what I mean? Any questions? I will hope Moors get the science, man, and study. If Moors if Moors never been to my PDF book company page, it's mypdfbooks.com. Mypdfbooks.com. That's books with the Z, and all my books are on there. You can get the PDF. If you want to download them, you can go to Office Max and Staples, and they'll print them and bind them for you. So say if you come to my scheduled lecture when I ask for a small $10 or $20 donation, say if you gave a $10 or $20 donation and you came to this lecture and you gave a donation to Cash App $KG Bay, I would give you both of these books and two of my other books for free, because that's what I do. So as I close, the things that we can agree upon is the 7 Kemetic principles. The principles of truth are 7, and he or she who knows these understandingly possess the master key, and before whose touch all the doors of the temple they'll fly open. That's why I tell people, don't be mad because the great God gave me the green light. Don't be mad because the great God, after all the sacrifice and all the stuff I've done for free, he showed me how to maximize my abilities and how to monetize my abilities. So if you're looking for all these books and wisdom, I have these books and much, much, much more. Yep, my books are on, I have a book company. Let me, hold on, I'll show you. So our book company, where all my books is on, is mypdfbooks.com. Mypdfbooks.com. But see, Noble, like I tell a lot of people when they come to class, like I have Sunday school every Sunday, and I have Adapt class every Saturday. When more is coming, let's give a little small, say $10 donation or a $20 donation. And if you don't have that, if you give a $5 donation, I still give the wisdom. And I'll build your whole library. So you don't have to go on Amazon and buy all those books for expensive. You can get the PDFs from me, go to Office Max and Staples, and they'll bind them for you. And then I teach the books. I go over all the books. But I do have my company, which is mypdfbooks.com, where you can purchase a lot of my books. I don't have all the rest of my books on there yet. I'm getting ready to put all the rest of all my new books on there. But I have a whole bunch of books on there, different books. And you can compare it and see how much the books cost on Amazon. I have books that's thousands of dollars on Amazon. So if more, say when they come to my lectures and I do teachings, anything I teach on, if you give a donation, I'm going to give you the literature. When you come to Sunday school, when I'm teaching on, I give you the literature. So my company is called mypdfbooks.com. That's books with the Z. That's books with the Z. I also have a company, it's called moorishhaberdasher.com. That's moorishhaberdasher.com. That's moorishhaberdasher.com, where you can get all your Moorish American regalia and much, much more. If you want your Moorish American fairs, etc., everything else, we add more items daily. You know, I also have another book that's out, and I think that's on our book page. It's called The Esoteric Science of the Fairs, where I teach you about the fairs. So, and also our Temple and School webpage is called bbtsciencetemple.com, and you can check out our Temple and School webpage. And like I said, every Saturday I have a DAP class at 10:30 after me and my nobles work out, because we do everything privately on Zoom. That's why I'm trying to get everybody, courting them here on Instagram and YouTube, to get everybody privately on Zoom. And then Sunday, we have a Sunday school at 2 p.m. AZ time zone. All Moors are welcome, but I would love for Moors to be my personal guest, for you can join us privately on Zoom. so we don't have to deal with all trolls and all that and all people that are not there and that don't want to give a donation. Because I understand if people don't want to give a donation. I'm not going to argue with people. It ain't important to them. I want to deal with those that's willing to deal with it and give something that they feel is okay to get wisdom. I'm not here to argue with no one. But yeah, mypdfbooks.com, Noble. You can get all my books. And as you come to Sunday school, and if you be my guest privately on Zoom, I share more things with you. And every time you come to class, usually after I teach class with all my members, I'm gonna start doing it with everybody on YouTube again. But after my classes, I used to offer 10 books, PDF books, for like $5 or $7 that you'll go on Amazon and be like, damn, these books hundreds of dollars. So, like I said, in closing, the 7 Kemetic principles upon which the entire Hermetic philosophy is based on, it follows. This is what we all can agree upon. The principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, the principle of vibration, the principle of polarity, the principle of rhythm, and the principle of cause and effect, and the principle of gender. So, all this breakdown is in my books. The as above, so below, all that is in there for you can get a clear understanding. And I really suggest you to come to class and learn, man. Any questions? 'Cause I'm done. Any questions? I don't want to leave no one without. And please keep it legit. Please, no crazy stuff, man, because I'm going to block you. And my mama on my IG page, too, so please don't make me start cussing. Any questions, man? Thank everyone that gave a donation to Cash App $KG Bay. Gratitude for you. And gratitude for taking time out your day. But tomorrow, Adapt class, I'm going to be highlighting more on the 7 seals. I'm going to be illuminating it. And if anybody give a donation tomorrow for Sunday school, if you give a $20 donation, I'll give you that literature and another piece of literature. Because I'm going to be going next week into it as well. So, any questions? If not, I love y'all. Any questions? I'll wait and see. Please keep it legit. Like I say, thank everyone for the donation. Because you didn't have to give nothing. I give gratitude. I don't care how little and if it's a lot, gratitude to that. But I give gratitude for those that say, man, I gave a piece from the heart. Not rotten apples. So I'm always rocking with people from the heart. And like I said, I'm here for everyone. You don't have to waste none of your money on expensive books at Amazon. Seek me out. Hit me up on IG. Send me a message. I got a whole catalog. And then if you're really rocking with me, I'll give you stuff cheaper. You connect with me. That's what I do for my members and students. It's valuable. So if we have any questions, I got 3 more minutes, then I'm out of here. And this hope is pertaining to some real, not about nobody else or nothing. I'll see if anybody got anything real fast. And please keep it legit. Shop. What I got? 2 more minutes. A minute and what did I say? 19. All right. Well, Gratitude to everybody, man, for taking time, for taking 2 hours to listen to me. I give you gratitude for taking 2 hours to listen to little old me. So I give y'all gratitude, man, for taking time out your day. But please, Morris, I'm welcome all y'all come to Adapt class. Put it on your heart to say, man, I got or $20 to give to this brother and get some wisdom that I say I'm into. Come to Sunday school. Be my personal guest. And come to learn, man. So we won't be confused. Any other questions, man? Peace, Noble. I think it said Absalom. Peace, more. Hmm. Trying to see if anybody got anything before I. All right, man. I love y'all though, man. I thought people had some questions. I know people be having a lot of questions, so I'm here to answer anything legit. Anything. My empress said to hurry up and finish, so I'm trying to see if anybody got something to say. Or any question. Anything that's pertaining to righteousness. Not what nobody else doing. Yeah, peace, Absalom. Peace, 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 Absalom. But yeah, for you rich bowers, yep, you can purchase all my books at my book company at mypdfbooks.com. That's books with a Z. If many more want a Moorish American Fez, go on morrishaberdasher.com. You can get your Moorish American Fez, and when you order it, you're gonna get 2 free books from me anyway. So I love y'all, man. Thanks for y'all tuning in. Have a good day. Mom, thanks for tuning in on here. I love everyone. And remember, 7 days without more science makes 1 week. 7 days without more science makes 1 week. That's WEEK and that's WEAK. Remember that. Mind, body, and spirit must agree as one. And it's nothing honorable being poor and broke. And that's mentally, spiritually, and physically. More power. Let's go, champ. Peace and love.